Good evening. Thank you for joining us for another virtual town hall. Today is Wednesday, June 10th. And before going on to our announcements, I want to do a recap of our numbers. As of today, we are now at 39,575 cases in Ohio, with 122 cases in Greene County. We're also tracking numbers here in the village. We're glad to report that going on for second week, we have 0 cases on our watch list. There's an article in today's newspaper, Yellow Springs News, written by Megan Bachman, which is an excellent article on the status of the COVID-19 here in the county. I encourage you to get a copy, read it. There's great information, not just about what's happening at the county, at the state, but also at the village and surrounding counties. So please get your hands on a copy of that article. Now on to business announcements. As you know, most of our businesses have opened. Not all of them in full operations, but they're working their way. They're working their way there, and they're doing it so in the safest manner as possible. They're following the guidelines, and in many instances, they're exceeding the guidelines. This is a great demonstration of how committed our local business community is to ensuring the safety of our residents and our customers. I'm encouraged to see all the things that are being done, not just on how they're configuring the spaces, but the measures that they're taking to encourage their customers to wear masks. Now, we all may not agree on the exceptions and other things, but we can all agree that it's important that if the majority of folks wear their masks, the majority of us are going to be protected. It's common sense practice. Let's do it. This is how we'll be able to carry about our businesses in the safest manner possible. On to additional openings. Last week, we announced that we were opening that the pool was opening on June 5th and that our parks were also opening. As of today, our playgrounds are open, our basketball courts are open, our bathrooms are open. We started opening our public restrooms on Friday, and they've continued to be open. Now we're taking the measures that we can to ensure a safer use of the bathrooms. Those are being cleaned on a 2-hour schedule. Now the bathrooms are operating with reduced schedule than they were in the past, but nonetheless, they're open every day, and that's an amenity that it's available to our recreational users and our business customers. Now I want to talk a little bit about the COVID-19 pandemic and the impact that it's had on communities across the country. The COVID-19 pandemic is hitting Black and Brown Americans especially hard on all fronts. Health, they're being disproportionately affected by COVID-19 in terms of rate infections and hospitalizations rates and death. The economics, this is the economic impact that our communities are enduring as a direct result of shutdowns and the pandemic, and now police brutality. We all must work to address racism, but not just to address it, but to undo racism, to be anti-racist. We're listening, we're evaluating what we do, and our council member, Brian Hausch and Lisa Krieger, have a message on what's ahead of us on our efforts to address this racist pandemic that we're living in. Now I welcome my colleagues, Colin Altman, Fire Chief. Also joining me tonight is Florence Randolph, Mayor Pam, Brian Hausch, and Lisa Krieger. Fire Chief Colin.
Thank you, Josue. Sorry about that. I was having a little technical problem. I'm coming to you live from the beautiful Mandarin Oriental Hotel here at Lake Como, Italy. And I am here today with Dino Pallotta, David Petraeus, Her Royal Highness Princess Anne, Denzel Washington, and Lisa Krieger. Joining us shortly will be WYSO General Manager Luke Dennis. We are here in a special planning summit to talk about the continuing efforts against COVID-19. It's important for everybody, we're, as a country, we are rightfully distracted and focused on some very pressing issues right now. But we have to remember that just because our country is boiling in other areas, and things that have needed to be brought to the surface are being brought to the surface, that COVID-19 is still out there. As you've all seen, I'm sure, from different news sources, 26 states had some of their highest new infection rates and hospitalization rates reported to CDC. Ohio was not one of them. A lot of those states, surprise, are states that did not take some of the steps we did in Ohio, and also may have opened too fast, depending on who you ask. Here in Ohio, we're still doing pretty well. When you add in the expanded case definition from CDC, we're up to about 39,000 cases of COVID-19 with 6,600 hospitalizations. It's important to remember, though, that that is not 39,000 current active cases. That is 39,000 since the start of this pandemic. And we continue to be on a pretty good path here in Ohio. Greene County-wise, I think it's 0.01% of our population has been infected with COVID-19. So we're doing pretty well in our county, to the point that public health was actually able to distribute 80% of their stockpile of personal protective equipment out to fire departments and municipalities because they needed to get rid of it and make room. So we're doing a good job, but that means that we have to continue to be on that right path. Wear masks when appropriate to protect others. Wash your hands or sanitize your hands religiously. The village has gone all out with hand sanitizer, so there's sanitation stations throughout the village where you can use your hand sanitizer. Quiet, you. It's George Clooney. He's here too. He's talking to me. Sorry. George and Lisa are talking in the corner. Hand sanitizers everywhere, so use it. The village has been distributing it also to businesses, which is fantastic. If you come to visit us at the fire station when you open, we even have hand sanitizer stations here. Remember to cover your cough. Remember, don't go to work if you're feeling sick. And most importantly, the most important thing you could possibly do to help prevent COVID-19 spread is to vote the right way in the fall. But beyond that is to socially distance 6 feet. That is the key to this. And that's why it's worked well in Ohio, because people, they may not like masks. We all know there's people who aren't washing their hands, but most people are socially distancing. So let's keep that up. Let's keep ourselves and our state safe. And let's also all come together today and recognize the importance that today is National Egg Roll Day. National Egg Roll Day. So I implore you all to go out and get an egg roll. Lucky Dragon here, or any of the wonderful Chinese American restaurants that are located throughout the Miami Valley. National Egg Roll Day. So with that, if you need us here at the fire department, as always, feel free to give us a call. You know the number. Until we meet again, until we see each other here at the beautiful Lake Como shores, be safe, be kind, be hopeful, and be back to Josue. Back to you, Josue.
Thank you so much, Colin. Also joining us tonight is Police Chief Brian Carlson. Chief, where are you joining us from today?
I am in the parking lot at the Fairborn Kroger. Forgive me, we had to work this in. Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Josue. I just have one announcement that I'd like to make. I'm not sure if it's out in the news yet, but we have had a series of break-ins in surrounding jurisdictions. So we've had multiple vehicles entered throughout Greene County, Clark County, Fairborn, and the MO is people getting out of a vehicle and checking for unlocked doors. Please lock your vehicles at night, turn on your house lights, and if you see anything that gives you a moment of pause, call the police and we will respond immediately. That's it from me, Josue. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief. And also joining us is Florence Randolph. Florence, welcome.
Thank you, Josue. I'd first like to say thank you to the members of the Housing Stability Task Force who have worked tirelessly to bring about help to those who in our village who need tenant rights, help, and resources. There was a press release that was put out today, and I'll just read part of it. It says the Housing Stability Task Force of Yellow Springs recognizes the need for emergency rental assistance after hearing from local renters in a recent online survey. The Yellow Springs Community Foundation is providing $10,000 for rental assistance through the Yellow Springs Credit Union. Villagers wanting to access funds should contact me, Florence Randolph, for further help and information and application. I may be reached at 937-767-3716 or email Florence Randolph at vil.yellowsprings.oh.us. These funds are meant to provide a bridge to anticipated federal fund pledges in the First CARES Act. Community county action partnership.
Florence, I'm sorry, you're cutting out. We couldn't get that last part.
Okay, the funds are meant to provide a bridge to anticipated federal funds pledged in the First CARES Act, which will eventually become available through the Miami County Action Partnership. Okay. While these funds are will help to eliminate evictions, they will also help in being on hand for residents who can't get in the queue or who are waiting for funds. So if you want further information, please contact me. There's also a tenants' right resource guide we have here, and it will help the tenants with who are experiencing hardships with fair and legal advice, and it will also help to give them the rules for them to know that they cannot be evicted under certain circumstances. So all that information I have here, and there also, I spoke with Joanne Jackson.
Lawrence, I'm sorry, we lost you again.
Information about the tenants' rights contact.
Thank you so much, Florence. Also joining us tonight is Mayor Pam. Mayor, thank you for joining us.
Good evening. Thank you, Josue. And welcome everyone from the village and the township. I had two important announcements that I want to share. Life goes on in the village, of course, and I thought these two things might be of interest to the community. Number one thing is a cool thing that's happening at our Yellow Springs Public Library, Greene County Library. It's now possible to do takeout orders on books, videos, any sort of library material that you would like to use. It's a very simple process. I've done it now several times, and it was so much fun, I wanted to tell you about it tonight. Go online to the library, order the materials that you want. If you have any questions about materials, you're welcome to call the library now. It is staffed during regular business hours. I believe they said there's about 3 people there at any one time. However, it is still closed to the public, and this is why I'm telling you what I'm about to tell you. Go online, order your materials as you usually might. Then the library will send you an email when your materials are in and ready. And here's the fun part. Then you go out in back of the library, around back in the parking lot, and there's a sign there with a phone number on it. You can drive up, bike up, walk up, rollerblade up, skateboard up, longboard up, whatever. Get there, take your phone, call the number that's listed on the little sign there, and then presto bingo, a friendly librarian will come out and give you your materials, all from a safe distance. They lay them on a table. They're wearing gloves and masks, as are hopefully you wearing a mask. And it works quite nicely. And then when you're done with your materials, you just return them to the usual bins. That's announcement number one. Announcement number two. By a press release today, it was announced that the Glen Helen has been sold by Antioch College to the Glen Helen Association. So this is an extremely important announcement to those of us who love the Glen. As many of you are aware, the college and the Glen have been in discussion for a long time, quite a few weeks / months, about hopefully reaching a mutual agreement where the Glen Helen Association, long time, for over 50 years, they've been providing volunteers and oversight of Glen volunteer activities and so forth. They're a separate nonprofit, and they have agreed to buy the Glen from the college. The purchase price, approximately $2.5 million, which will be paid to Antioch over a 10-year period. The sale will be finalized later this summer, and as a plan becomes in place, the Glen Helen Association will announce a plan to reopen the Glen. It's not open now. It won't be open next week, but this discussion on how to safely, carefully, and responsibly open the Glen will be ongoing as of now. The sale was hailed by both Antioch and GHA as positive for both parties, as well as the local community. Now, all of this is going to be in the newspaper that you may have purchased tonight, or you'll be receiving at home tomorrow. You also may be aware that a local resident created a Save the Glen fund at the Yellow Springs Community Foundation. And while the amount raised in that fund is not public, the fund, and I found these numbers interesting, the fund has drawn 633 donations from 370 donors from, and here's a cool part, 173 zip codes. 173 zip codes in the space of just a few weeks. So Glen Helen Association, bravo. Antioch, we're glad this happened responsibly. We're happy for both parties, but most of all, we're happy for the villagers, township, and regional people who use and love the Glen. Those are my two announcements. Thank you very much. Josue, back to you.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Also joining us tonight are two council members, Brian Hausch and Lisa Krieger. Brian?
Thank you, Josue. Yeah, I wanted to, just reflecting on everything I've heard so far, highlight a few comments from one of my favorite state elected officials who I now talk to weekly, who mentioned that if people would just wear their damn masks and if they would just do the damn social distancing, we'd be fine. And I say that in relation to one of the things I wanted to highlight, and I'm going to have Lisa talk a little bit more about, which is a recently announced work session for this Friday from 5 to 7 p.m. It's going to be on Zoom. We'll also use our Facebook Live and YouTube channels to broadcast this. And we're going to be focusing on two issues that honestly, we need more public feedback about so that we can make the best decisions for the village. The topic that we will talk about from 5 to 6 is going to be related to meaningful action around the fact that we're all recognizing that racism is a public health crisis. And I think one of the important things to emphasize here is that we have at least as long as I've been on council, longstanding precedent for taking meaningful action. And we want to get more input to understand how we can continue to do better. In the second hour from 6 to 7, we're going to be focusing on the, I guess, pros and cons, the merits of making mask wearing a requirement. This has been something that we've been talking about for a while through a variety of channels. And in both of these cases, they have gotten to the level that we understand that we need more guidance from the community. And that's why Friday is going to be a listening session. It is not going to be a venue for council to take up, most of the time talking about our opinions. We want to listen to you. We want to understand what the thinking is in the community so that when we discuss these issues at our Monday council meeting, June 15th, we can make the best decisions for our community. So our objective is to listen and to help formulate incisive dialogue around how we can make a good decision. So Lisa, I'd love for you to add any other context around what we're trying to do on Friday.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. I think I can speak more about what that Friday session is not. It is a listening session, but it's not about a feel-good moment. It's not about a bunch of pretty words and platforms and legislation. It's not about like a white feel-good moment. It's not about meaningless gestures. It's about a recognition that there are massive changes that have to happen nationally, and that we have an opportunity to build on past work and make the right choices locally. And that, speaking for myself as an individual council person who's a privileged white person, I know I don't know what the right answers are. And so I'm calling upon the community, despite exhaustion that you're feeling and all the trauma, to share your knowledge and gifts with us. And that's really what I'm interested in for that first session, is to address institutional basis of racism in the village and what potential strategies that we can undertake that I, as a white person, would get wrong. So I appreciate that. And then in the second hour, when we're talking about masks, we've talked about masks so much in these town halls. We've talked about them so much. I've had, many, many conversations one-on-one, but it has been an oversight that we haven't had an open discussion with council. And because of the Sunshine Law, I realized that I don't even know what all 5 of the council people feel about this topic. So I think it's really critical that we talk about it openly at this meeting on Friday, and we will talk about it again on Monday. So thank you so much. And I hope we have a good turnout and can really delve into these really difficult topics. Thanks. Over to you, Josue.
Thank you so much, Lisa and Brian. Okay, we will now open the question and answer period of the session. Philip, any questions? We don't have any questions so far. As you know, we are now streaming to 2 platforms, Facebook and YouTube. And we've had another issue today with getting out to Facebook. We're live now, but we got onto Facebook a little late. But now we're live on both channels. So if you have a question, please type in the chat box on YouTube or Facebook. We're actively monitoring those two chat sessions. So we will read your comments and questions of those two platforms.
So Josue, I saw a question from Mayor Pam Canine about how people submit questions for Friday. And so I can answer that. You can email those to Judy Kittner, our council clerk, and that's clerk@yso.com. You can also reach out to any of your council members. I think the most important thing here is that we want to promote community dialogue around what's best for our residents and our visitors.
Thank you, Brian. No questions. Okay, well, I have one. One just came in. Is there anything that can be done about the large groups of people without masks who tend to gather in front of Tom's? Several elders have stated that they cannot shop there because of this. If there are folks gathering in Tom's that exceeds the restrictions on the groups that can gather, that's certainly something that we can follow up on that. We being us, the administration and the police department. Chief Carlson, I know you've been active over the weekends and walking through town and encouraging folks wear the mask and doing other things. Any comments from you on this matter?
Absolutely. If you encounter or experience that, please call the Yellow Springs Police. We will respond as we do, and we will remind the folks that are clogging up the sidewalks about proper social distancing and what we need to do to allow people to go about their day without having to worry about folks being too close. And it's been working well. All the officers, we've all talked about our approach and how we handle it. And we've had really no conflict, and we are more than happy to respond. It might, to make you comfortable, you might have to wait a couple minutes, but I would rather you do that than feel uncomfortable in any way. Tom and his staff are doing an excellent job of providing proper distancing and safe measures in the store. And you need to be allowed to experience that as well as you are going into the store. So don't ever hesitate to call dispatch 767-7206.
Thank you, Chief.
Hey, Josue, can I add something?
Of course. Yes, please, Brian.
Okay, thanks. So I think another aspect of this, and it's come up in different meetings and conversations, is the village is open to opening up space if we are continuing to face issues around certain places that promote gathering. And I think everyone's familiar with what other communities have done with parking spaces and other public spaces. So I think the other important piece of this, as Chief Carlson mentioned, is continue to let us know where these pinch points are, because these days we are making decisions to promote public safety on a hour by hour basis. So we need that kind of information.
Thank you, Brian. We had had a meeting today as a follow-up to what we can do around public spaces and how we can improve the availability of public spaces for folks to gather and be out and about and a safer environment. when our downtown corridor was planned, we didn't plan around pandemic and social distancing, physical distancing. So we've got some challenges, but there are also opportunities. We have great parks in our system. We have the John Bryan Center that's so near the downtown area that folks can utilize that space. We've got Betty Hughes Park that's nearby. So many wonderful outdoor spaces, and we're looking to see what is possible on our end to improve these amenities, improve access, and make them much more welcoming to our residents and others. Thank you, Brian. Okay, let's see, do we have any additional questions? Okay, we have another question. In what ways, other than computer-based, has the Friday session been publicized? Excellent question. We're getting it out there. Most of our distribution networks are digital. I believe that we got it in time in the paper. So it should be in today's Yellow Springs newspaper. We posted not just the work session, but also the council meeting and upcoming environmental commission meeting. So it should be in today's paper, this week's Yellow Springs newspaper. Brian, are there other avenues that we're getting the word out?
Yeah, so, I wanted to mention it is going to be recorded. So, we're going to be able to distribute it through Channel 5, through YouTube, Facebook, and of course, our Zoom meeting. The other thing is, I think there's been already a lot of, kind of word of mouth sharing around this. Again, I mean, this, we definitely can see opportunities for more work sessions. And, we're starting to realize, some of these priority issues just need more discussion than a village council meeting can really accommodate. But yeah, so I think it's been spread far and wide, definitely in the paper, and I would encourage everybody to be sharing it around. So.
Thank you, Brian. We have a follow-up question or another question. Would it be helpful to do an online poll petition concerning masks?
I'll speak up. I mean, I think possibly, but one of the things that is really important to me to hear from on Friday and again on Monday is from Chief Carlson, because there are multiple risks and benefits to be considered. And as a nurse, as a 61-year-old woman, I understand the clinical aspects of the pandemic, but I also know where we live. And it's an interesting intersection to talk about policing and to talk about legislating a requirement to wear masks when we're not supported from our health department or state. And I want to understand the implications for enforcement. And I want to avoid inviting another kind of risk to our community that we're less capable of protecting ourselves from individually. It is a position of privilege to say, don't go downtown when it's busy downtown. It's a position of privilege to say, you're responsible for social distancing. But I believe personally, and in this I'm only speaking for myself, that the risk of legislation requiring masks could introduce danger to our village. And I want to talk about that on Friday, and I want to talk about it on Monday. And I'm just trying to keep it real. I'm afraid of the risks of people who hate us who will come here in even more full force if we legislate masks. So I want to talk about that openly with our council and our community.
Hey, I just want to jump in to really underscore that keeping it real comment, because I will say Friday and everything we've been doing before and moving forward is not about platitudes. We are really looking for things we can effectively do that are going to make a difference. And, and this is why we want to be really open and engaged with everybody in the community about this. And I guess the other thing I want to point out is that, we are going to make, and Lisa referenced this as well, decisions that are contextual to our community. So in terms of policing, we need to understand that our community has been doing work since the New Year's Eve debacle that puts us way ahead of probably any other police department, but that doesn't mean that we've done enough. We can do better. And in terms of masks, we are not going to, just look at what everybody else is doing. We have to understand what's happening in Yellow Springs. And we've been doing a lot of research about other communities that have gone the route of ordinances. And it's a pretty mixed bag, to say the least, but we'll get into that more on Friday and Monday.
Thank you, Lisa and Brian. Okay, we have two more questions. How late can people send in letters for Friday's meeting? Brian, I don't know, you may weigh in on this. I was unclear if we were prepping a packet for Friday's meeting, since it's...
Yeah, we're not prepping a packet for Friday's meeting. So I would say, send out anything to Judy Kittner, clerk@yso.com. She'll share it with council. But I mean, these are ongoing conversations, so it's never too late. But if you do want something in the council packet for June 15th, Judy will need that no later than Friday at noon.
Thank you. Okay, another statement. You select out with short notice and or limited publicity, especially with the elders, just my opinion. I think this statement is in regards to the announcement of Friday's work session.
I'd like to make a comment there. Brian Hausch and I called for this emergency session because it was an emergency. We need to talk about this stuff, and we need to talk about it right away. And there isn't enough time in a Monday meeting to add another 2 hours to what is easily a 3 to 4 hour meeting already. So if this is short notice, I understand that, and I apologize for that, although we did meet the requirements for public noticing. Still, there was no time to waste. No time to waste. We have to convene and talk about this. And so we will talk about it on Friday, and we will talk about it on Monday, and we will talk about it every day of the week if we need to. I have limitless a number of hours that I'm willing to put into the work of council. And if we have to have extra meetings every day of the week, I will do that to work through this. But I was not willing personally to wait one additional day to convene a meeting. So we need to get started on Friday, and we need to keep that going, keep the dialogue going, and take this very seriously. We will hear your voices. We are not making any decisions. We are not voting on anything. We're just trying to hear from you. I have a tremendous sense of urgency, and that's where I'm coming from.
Thank you, Lisa. I think it's important to recognize the sense of urgency, and we must do what we must do to get the conversation going.
Right. And then Josue, I'd just like to add, beyond that, and, the fact that we realized we really needed to have this additional time for public input and processing, I do want to emphasize that our communication channels are not limited to our Facebook page. And one of the things I think some are aware of, maybe not everyone, is that we have a Tuesday 4 p.m. leadership meeting every week. We have a Wednesday town hall every week. We have a Friday local business meeting at noon every week. There are so many communication channels right now, which I'm so happy about, to make sure that a lot more people know about what's going on than ever before. And then, of course, it was critical to us to get it into the YS News because that's one of our best communication channels.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, I don't see any additional questions. So with that, I'll start closing out the town hall. Any of my colleagues want to say closing words? Okay. I want to thank you for joining us tonight. We look forward to the continued conversations, not just on what we're doing about COVID-19, but the other issues that are affecting our community. We're in this together, and together we shall get through this. So with that, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here to help. We're here to make this community better. We're here to build a beloved community. With that, I wish you a good night.